her a presenter here. Give me 1 second. Made her an attendee. Now I should be able to come back and make her a presenter. All right. So we have a special guest. If I cover up my camera, da 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 da, special guest Princess Phillips is with us. Hello, Princess.
Hello, how are you?
Great. So this is my class. They are very quiet. They tend to speak with emojis. So
Okay, that works.
So, uh, so when you ask them questions, they will pop up emojis typically. A couple of
Uh-huh.
them will possibly mute the mics, and so feel free to ask them to do so. Hopefully they will. And so we've got the recording going, so we've got everything captured. That way we can win an Oscar for this later on. And so the tough part is always trying to figure out who's going to play who in the starring roles, you know. Um,
Yeah.
I always picture Dwayne The Rock. I've worked with him in the past. If you've ever
Oh,
seen the show Ballers, uh,
oh.
he filmed that with us out at Flamingo Gardens
Hmm.
down south. So, so I figure since he looks like he could use extra money, I might throw him, something his way, see if he could pick up some extra side work there. But the reason why we have asked you to come join us is you are with Career Services in the Orlando office, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And you bring with you a wealth of knowledge, and some of that knowledge has to do with interviewing, which
Mm-hmm.
we are talking about this week. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I emphasize is being prepared.
Yes.
And if you're not prepared, the other person going into that interview is.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of relate it to uh, like a Super Bowl game. Teams just don't randomly show up and hope they do good. And then if
No.
they don't do good, they blame everybody in the stadium. Well,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, it was their fault that I
Correct.
didn't win. Well, it's kind of like that with an interview. You go in, you didn't get the job. Well, obviously, it's the employer's fault. They did something wrong. They have something against me, blah, blah, blah.
Mm. Mm-mm.
We don't like to look at what we could have done better. And
Right.
so this is where I hope you can give us some insight. So I would like to turn this over to you, if you don't mind, and
Okay.
let you have the floor.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I didn't know you were so funny.
Uh, I kind of am funny, but that's the looks I was given. So we go with that. So thank
Natural
you.
comedian. Awesome. Awesome. Good morning, everybody. As stated, I am the Director of Career Services here in the Orlando campus, and I've been at Southern Tech for about 3 years. And prior to this, I was at another career college in North Carolina for 5 years. So I've been doing this quite a while. And I love what I do. And any students who I work with the HVAC program. And so any students who work with me know that I love what I do and I'm super helpful. And I'm always available to help anybody to find a job, to find an employment in their chosen field of study is very important to me. But of course, you've got to play your part. And so, Career Services is here to assist you, even with the mock interviews. Even if you're not in this class, career prep, you don't have to be in this class to come to Career Services to get some interviewing practice and tips. We do workshops in the classroom, and then we also say that if you've got a job coming up and you just want to, you know, practice with us at any time, you can come and work with us and do interviewing prep, just so you know. And of course, I don't know, I'm sure you already know that this is a lifetime service, career services. So as a graduate, you can come back to Southern Tech and ask for assistance with your resume, assistance with interviewing. So we are here for you for the long haul, for the most part. So having said that, anybody have any questions thus far? Good to go. Okay.
Everybody good? Emoji, show you're good. Yes, yes. All
Snap your
right.
fingers, snap your fingers. Okay, awesome,
There you
awesome,
go. All right.
awesome. So of course, we will never know exactly what an employer is going to ask you, but of course, the main goal is to figure out if you're a good fit for their company. So they're going to ask you some general questions to get an idea of pretty much are you committed and are you serious about working for that company, and what value you can bring to that company. So they come up with questions to figure those things out, to see if you're going to be add value to their company and to see if you're going to be devoted to the company and really, do what you said you're going to do. So you have to present yourself first at that interview, and just, keep in mind that when you are applying for a job, there are a lot of these jobs are getting hundreds, dozens and dozens of resumes that they have to kind of go through and pull out and sift through. So when they've selected you to interview, again, you've got to shine. You've got to shine. They might have 10 interviews lined up, so you can't go in there and kind of give the what I call Miss America answers and say, hey, I'm a hard worker, I'm a team player, I get the job done. That's not going to be enough. So if everybody else says that, then you're not going to stand out. So the main goal is to make sure that you are engaging them and making them interested in your story, and you want to be able to tell your story completely. Even though you may be a little nervous when you go into the interview, it's very important that you're telling your story. So generally, that first question that everybody just despises is, tell me about yourself. And it sounds so casual that you immediately just want to go, well, I'm from North Carolina. I've got 3 children. I've been married 10 years. I love to walk on the beach. And that's not what they're interested in. They are looking for professional answers. They want to know why you have applied and what kind of qualifications brings you to their office at that time. So the best way to answer that question is to start off giving them information about your education, your training, your work experience, your desires and goals as far as that field is considered, and just to talk about your strengths a little bit in that first paragraph. But again, we want to make sure you're just giving them professional information, that you're a graduate, that what you studied, some of the things that you learned while you were in school, your certifications, any recognitions that you've had, if you were student of the month or you got, perfect attendance, or you were recognized and got top grades for your program. These are the things they want to hear about, and what kind of value you're going to add to their company. I would also suggest to make sure that you know something about the company. Do your research before you go into that interview. So that would be a start thing to say, well, I read your reviews and I read about your company. I really love the mission statement, and just to show them that you've really done your research. So that's a gold nugget that will get you in the door. At least get you to the top of the list. Anybody have any questions about that? So
I would like to jump in there. You mentioned mission statements, and knowing that when you do your research and you look these companies up, they will have their mission statements. And I can tell you more than once, I've worked for companies, and if the head of the companies came through and asked you what that mission statement was and you did not know it, you were let go on the spot. They did not pull you in a room. They let you go in front of everybody, because some of these companies, you will not believe how much they value that mission statement. And I can tell you one of them, if we have any vet students, that goes true for VCA, Veterinary Centers of America. That is one of them. And Banfield is also owned by VCA, VCA Banfield. Their mission statements, That is so true to them. If you are working the front desk, they will have callers call in to set up appointments. And we used to have to relay the mission statement. If we didn't relay that mission statement, they would let the managers know and you would be terminated. So they do value these things. Research the companies before you apply. Why wouldn't you? How do you know you are going to be a fit? Money is not the key component because if you don't fit, you're not going to stay. The money doesn't matter. If you're happy in the company, the money will come in. You'll be productive. The money will follow. I'm finished.
I'm unmute myself. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the career college I was at in North Carolina, I worked with the medical assisting program. And there was one particular company I used to have to place the students for externship, not even a job, just externship. And this company would ask you, "What do you know about our company?" That was their first question. What do you know about this medical center? And if you couldn't say anything, the interview ended right then. So keep that in mind. Some people really take that seriously. So the next question we want to talk about is what are your strengths? They're normally going to ask you, what are your strengths? And again, you want to avoid the Miss America answers. You know, I'm a hard worker. I'm a team player. I get the job done. But you have to be more specific. And your story needs to sound more interesting so that they'll keep asking you questions. So if you are a hard worker, then you need to go and elaborate with what does that mean? Does that mean you stay late each day when you're on the job? Do you cover for people when they're not coming in? Do you go above and beyond what you're normally asked to do when you're on a job? You need to give specific examples. If there was a time when, you know, I was working and this happened, and I was able to jump in and offer my, so even though it wasn't my job description, I jumped in and offered to help because I'm more interested in the whole, you know, goal of the whole company. So whenever you're given any type of strength, just make sure you have a story to back it up. So this is one of the things that you want to practice because it'll make it easy for you. Go ahead and start pulling stories in your mind about things that you can share with an employer that will be impressive as far as your strengths are concerned. And this is one of those things, like I said, it's easier to do if you've already practiced and you're prepared to have those stories ready. Any questions at all? Okay.
Okay.
And oh, okay.
Okay.
The next point. Okay, go ahead. You have a
So
question?
so so
I,
this is
I
what. Go ahead, Sheldon.
okay, so I have a question. My question is, what about when employers ask you to interview, like if you have pictures of like your portfolio, should you have that already put together or printed
Um,
out? Or
yes, I'm not sure what pictures would be, but yes, you should always take a portfolio of you know, copies of your resume, any certificates or recognitions that you have, any certifications that you have, because they may ask to see them. Yes, it is important to take in a portfolio with you.
or what about like pictures of like work you've done? Like instead of pulling it
Um,
up on, should you have like it printed out or
yeah, I'm assuming you're in a welding program or
yes?
electrical. Okay, yes, yes, that would definitely be a plus. Absolutely. Any
Thank
other
you.
And
questions?
one of the things that I keep emphasizing when you're describing things, be very specific. We are all in the habit of talking general. I'm
Hmm.
good. I'm great at this. Be specific. What makes you good? What makes you great? Talk in very specific terms because that's what they want to know. If you're not describing what makes you a great HVAC technician, well, because I can read a voltmeter, I can do this, I can do that. That's what we need to know. You
Yeah.
know what you know. I emphasize that. You know what you know. So tell me what you know. You are an expert on you. So
Hmm.
teach
Hmm.
me about you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and the fact that you've been in schools with a lot of hands-on training, pull from those experiences, those lab times that you've been, doing some things and say, in lab we did XYZ and tell what parts you played in it. Especially if you did a leadership role in part of a group project or something. Share all of that. Make that picture very, very specific. Any other questions at all about the strengths?
You
Okay.
all are incredible. And I want you to really take a step back and see how incredible you really are and the skills you have. Don't underplay how impressive you really are, how impressive those skills are, how you can do these and not everybody can. So when you're talking to somebody, express how unique you are and how you can do these things because that's what they need to hear. Be proud of what you can do. It's not ego. Don't think you're bragging because you
Hmm.
have the skills to back it up. And that's the
Right.
difference between ego, arrogance, and skills. You
Hmm.
know how to do this.
Absolutely. I tell my students all the time, never go in being so humble and, I know I don't have any experience and I'm willing to start. I'm entry level. I don't have any. Yes, you do, because I cannot do any of what you all are doing. None of it. I am the person with no experience. So always go in with confidence and use that terminology you've gotten from your field of study. And like Ronald said, just be really confident and just replay what you've learned and what you've talked about. And like I said, use that terminology to show that you are an expert in the field. They're going to train you. Any job you get in any field, you're going to be trained anyway. So as long as you've got the basics and you show them that you've been to school, and going to college is a big deal. I mean, this is an accelerated program for the most part. So this is a lot to learn, and the fact that you've made it this far, you've got a lot to offer any company, and you got to believe that. You have to believe that. So the harder question, of course, is what are your weaknesses? And I like to say when they ask you this, don't think of your personal, oh well, I've got a deep dark secret and I'm having a hard time getting over this bad habit. No, what are your weaknesses could just be what do you need a little more work in? What do you not feel as strong in even in your field? And just come up with a way that you're actually working to overcome that, even if it's being a little bashful and you're not as outgoing as you would like to be, but you've been working with these groups in school and you've been able to get in front of a class and you feel a little stronger, so you're working on it. A weakness does not have to be a pure weakness. Woe is me, I'm dying, I'm no good. It just means I need to work a little bit better because you can't be great at every single thing. So there may be just one little thing that you need a little more help in. Does anyone have a weakness that they would like to share? Okay, that's cool.
Okay. A good example would be I may not have all the experience at this time, but I know I will gain it while I'm under your employ. So, right there, I want you to think about that and let's break that apart. What you're telling them is you don't have the experience, but you are hiring me and giving me that experience.
Mhm,
You're
mhm.
telling them right there, you are hiring me in that sentence.
Yeah.
Remember, you control the interview at
Mm,
all times. You are the one in control. They may be doing the interviewing, but you are the one controlling them.
mhm.
Turn it around, turn your thinking around. You are deciding if this company is going to be good for you. Don't go in thinking I'm begging for a job.
Right.
Stop that mentality. You're not begging. You are above that. You're better than that. You're deciding if they're right for you.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct. Absolutely. So, another question or another, and in any of the questions that they ask you, you have to keep in mind you are selling yourself. Every single question, sell yourself. Find a way to sell yourself. So they may ask the question, why should we hire you? And so this is an opportunity for you to really lay it all out. And it's okay if you go back and pick up some of the things you did at the beginning, just reminding them that you do have a college degree, diploma, that you have been in school. It was an accelerated program and you did pretty well, and you had lots of hands-on training, and and just again telling them the certifications you have and the value that you can bring to the company. Again, avoiding Miss America answers, being very specific about what it is you know how to do, and the fact that you're open to learning and training, your desire to be better and to add more value to the company. One way I actually present this question when I'm doing mock interviews for my HVAC students, and it always brings a smile to their face. I say, if we should hire you, what will we love about you? And that makes you really open your mind to, okay. And that reminds you of how great you are. So you have to, again, sell yourself, be very confident when you're going into these interviews.
And one thing I want to throw in, people don't necessarily think about some of the little points about having the diploma, having the certification. What you're telling them is, I'm dedicated, I'm open to learning, and I have enough discipline to follow rules, to follow instructions, and your attendance is important, because if you have good attendance in school, that's hopefully going to correlate. You're going to show up for the job. One of the biggest issues right now with companies, with corporations, people are not showing up. You would be surprised with people wanting income, with people wanting benefits. They are not showing up. Attendance is actually looked at as an employment situation. They want to know, did you show up for your classes? How was your attendance? Showing that you had the discipline to come to class, to get those grades, to do this. This does weigh heavy in the employment process now. So when you can say, I do have a degree, I do have certifications, I do have this, you are not just, you know, wasting air. It means something. Your words mean something, and they have an ear that's listening.
Absolutely. I always tell the students when they start the program, this is your first job in the field. I know it's school, but this is your first job. You need to come every day, be on time, be in uniform, and follow directions and be a sponge and ask lots of questions and stay after if you need to, just as if it was your first job being hired. Because these are professionals in the field. These are not just instructors. They've actually worked in the fields that they're teaching. So this is your first job. If you treat it like a job, then those good habits of attendance and showing up and staying late and being dressed appropriately and following directions, that will spill over to the employment easily, easily. So another question that always gets people thinking is, what salary are you looking for? That's the big one. And of course, career services, we normally we don't recommend that you give a number. We don't recommend that you ask, first of all, how much am I going to make? We don't suggest that. Even though, of course, that's the question everybody wants to know. But we don't want to ask that question. But they will sometimes ask you to get a feel, what salary are you looking for? And again, this is another opportunity for you to sell yourself. You can remind them what they're getting, all the skills that you have, and in a nice way, without giving a number. Of course, it's always negotiable, but without giving a number, just say, I want a salary that reflects the level of skills that I'm bringing to the table, and reminding them what those skills are specifically. That's the best way to answer that question. Because if you do spill out a number, $21 an hour, and the job pays 22, they're going to give you the 21 you asked for. And even though that's $1, that's $2,080 you will never see over a year's time. You missed out on that money and you can't make it back up. So be careful not to just spit out a number that sounds good, but just tell them you're open to discuss it.
So
Question.
what if you say something along the lines of like, I would like something that can give me some equitable growth.
Say it again. It broke up a little bit.
What if you say something along the lines, I'm looking to find a career that gives me equitable growth?
Oh, you mean is your answer? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
anything other than just, spitting out. I mean, sometimes they're gonna kind of push for you to give a range. You should definitely be aware of the range for that particular job, even if they haven't given it out on their website or something. You should be aware of what the a decent salary range is for, you coming into the program, coming into that field, just in case they press.
So would it be wrong to ask them if they're hiring based on what the position is paying, or if they're hiring based on what your skill set is?
It's always skills. I wouldn't ask that question. I mean, they're definitely looking for your skills. Again, the overall point of bringing you in is to see if you're going to be a good fit for their company and if you're going to add value to their company. Period.
Okay, thank you.
If you ask that question, they're always going to give you the bottom answer. Businesses are always in it for their bottom line, period. So if you ask them, they're always going to give you the bottom number, always. But they should pay on skills. This is why two people can be in the same position and be paid drastically different, because they should pay on skills and what the person negotiates. You can't complain that you're being paid lower than the person next to you because they may have negotiated better, or their skill set, even though you may not be aware of it, may be different than yours. Just because you have the same title, your amount may be different. These are not set jobs, these are careers, and they pay different than somebody being paid for a set hourly position. So that is another way of having to change our mindset as you move into these careers.
Absolutely. And since you said that, let me please tell you, if you do get hired, do not discuss your pay with anybody that you're working with. Please don't do that. I've had a graduate do that before. He went in and he discussed pay, and it turns out he was making more than the other people, and it caused a big ruckus. He got fired right away, and the employee was so disappointed. So this is not a good practice to even discuss what you're making or to ask other people what they're making. Please go in with the mindset of really being focused on your career, your skills, and what you're going to do. Yeah, because if you go in and try to compare and say, oh well, I heard so and so, you're going to get fired. You're going to lose your job.
Yes, it can cause a lot of resentment that
Hmm.
doesn't need to be there.
True.
And even though they're not supposed to be able to fire you for that, I'll be brutally honest here. We are in a state where they do not have to give you a reason. We
Yeah.
are in right to work state. They do not have to give you a reason. They do, unless your company policy states they have to go through a set of reasoning or a set of steps as before they fire you, they can just let you go. They don't have to give you a reason whatsoever. They can just walk up and say you're no longer employed.
Hmm.
That's it. No
That's it.
reason whatsoever. So just don't do it. There's no reason to. You don't bring in all your bills, all your other private information and say, let's discuss this. Money is one of those things you should not discuss. You're opening yourself up for aggravation, either for yourself or your coworkers.
True. True. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, the last question they generally ask you is, what questions do you have for me? The very wrong answer to that is, oh, I don't have any questions at all. You better have at least three questions. At least three. I say get five prepared just in case they answer two of them during the interview, but at least three questions. And then these should be employer-centered questions about the job, about the workplace, about the experience you're getting ready to have with that company. Not what am I going to get? What am I going to pay? What are my benefits? What how much vacation time do I? Please do not go in. with those type of questions. They've been asking you questions all along to get an idea of what you're like. This is your opportunity to find out if they're going to be a good fit for you. So you want to find out what their culture is. If people have been working there for a long period of time, is the turnover rate high or low? You want to even ask the person who's interviewing you, how long have they been there? What do they love about the company? And the very first question I always tell my students to ask, what type of training will I receive if I'm selected? Because that's going to tell you a lot about the company. If they've got a good, solid training process and structure in place for you to grow in the company, that's what you want to know. If they're going to say, oh, we're going to try you out here, we're going to try you out there, that may be an indication they're not very organized. So those are some of the questions I would recommend, but always, always have a question for them. What does a typical day look like? What are the best attributes you are looking for in me, that would make me successful in this job? Any questions at all about that?
I have a question, but it's not pertaining about what you just went over.
Okay.
So here's my question. In my resume, I used to own my own business.
Okay.
Well, I don't have that business anymore due to personal reasons.
Okay.
I know that there's a lot of companies that are going to sit there when they go over my resume, they're going to see, oh, this person has owned his own business, but now he is searching for a job.
Mm-hmm.
I know some companies out there will try to start asking questions about that specific reason on, hey, what happened? Why are you no longer working for yourself, and X, Y, and Z?
Mm-hmm.
How would I go about answering that question with it being a personal reason? Because when I'm going in for an interview, it's not to find out about my personal life.
Exactly.
It's to find out about my experience. It's to find out about my hands-on training. What can I bring to the company?
Mm-hmm.
Things to help improve the workflow in the company.
Mm-hmm.
How would I answer that question without
Well,
coming on being rude or disrespectful?
oh no, I think you've got the right mindset already. They really shouldn't be fishing too much for any personal information, and it's just a decision that you've made. You grow, you evolve, you have different experiences, you observe different things, you have different options coming up, and you just made a decision that you have an interest to go this route. You don't have to give them personal information, and you're right, they're not supposed to ask you certain personal things anyway. So. I would definitely flip it around and just to accentuate the skills that you're bringing, and with being a previous business owner, that comes with leadership and strong work ethics. So the things that they're getting is what you should be talking about, more so than why you've chosen not to do it anymore.
And you can emphasize that you're bringing those transferable skills
Mm-hmm.
into this career, but you decided that you wanted to expand and go into an entirely different career field. And so that old business was no longer feasible to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
And you do not have to expand into that any further. You chose a new career field, which is something that many people do throughout their lives. They choose
Yep.
different careers. So it's very, very common.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. That was a great question.
Yes, absolutely.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
One question that do not be afraid to ask this, but it's something that might be important to people, is when you're asking questions of the place you're interviewing, ask if they have multiple locations and
Mhm.
if you might be required to work at more than one location, especially if you might be transportation challenged. You may need to use bus routes, you may rely on other people to get around because some places do have multiple locations or remote locations. Find out if the place you're interviewing will be the actual location where you're going to be working.
Mm.
Sometimes this is hard to determine from the actual job posting. So make sure that that is the place. Just find out, I see you have multiple locations. Will this be the location I'll be employed at, or will I be moving from location to location? some things along that line, so that you're assured where you're going to be at.
Mm.
That's something to consider,
Yeah.
because distance can make a difference between how much you're bringing home
Mhm.
as far as salary is concerned. Remember that more money, but if you're traveling further and you're paying more in gas and wear and tear on your vehicle, your actual take home pay could be less.
True. True. Absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing I would add at the end of an interview is to ask for a business card, because it's a great idea to send an email, follow-up email within 24 hours, simply thanking them for their time, because sometimes people are spending the day interviewing people and that's not really their job, their main primary job description. They have other things they could have been doing. So they've taken the time out to interview. So just a simple thank you for your time, kind of restate something that you actually talked about so they know that you were listening during the interview, and then, hope that you'll hear from them soon. Something like that.
I have
And
another question.
go ahead, William.
Yeah, so I'm a veteran. I'm 100% permanently and total disabled with severe PTSD.
Okay.
In that interview, how would I kind of bring up like the safety precautions, such as coming up from behind me and things to that, without me knowing about it, could spark part of my PTSD. There's been times to where, i.e., for example, my kids coming up from behind me by accident,
Mhm.
and it will startle me to where it automatically throws me back into some of the situations that I experienced in the military, to where I almost hit my kids.
Oh, wow.
So when I turn around and see that it's my kids, it immediately stops. But it sends me into somewhat of a panic attack, because, I just raised my hand to defend myself, but it was to my kids. And it's to that point, you know, different things to different situations. Right now I go to the Sanford location, and all the welding instructors and everything, you know, they all know, hey, we need to make ourselves known if we're coming up behind him, and different things to that nature. So how would I bring that up in an interview to not only ease myself, but also allow my future employer to know, hey, not only do we need to make this a note for us as the supervisors and managers and foremen, but how can we bring it up to the other employees also that are not sitting in this interview, and different things to that.
That's a great question. I don't know if I would give that much information in an initial interview, other than that you are a veteran. Um, and just, yeah, I don't think I would go that deep unless I actually got hired or got a job offer. I don't think they would need to know that much about, about the PTSD, and about, telling all the manager and everybody how to treat you. I think that would be a later discussion if they were to consider to hire you, but definitely being open about the fact that you're a veteran, and in any, I don't want to say, I guess any experiences that I mean, the experiences that you have had as a veteran that normal people who are in the field, who are in the service, will experience. You may have, taken, I don't know about I don't know the terminology, but when you have different assignments, and you might mention that during the initial interview, but not about how it affects you to the point, definitely not about how, the incident with your children. I definitely wouldn't have that conversation up front, or if ever. I'm not sure if I ever would. Yeah.
Also, William, a lot of applications do mention that if you would need accommodations, some of them do have a place for you to check for accommodations, but they will discuss that with you. They don't have you write the accommodations down, but it's like a checkbox on the interview or on the application.
Application, okay.
And so you'll see that on applications, but the initial interviews, that's really not where those things are typically discussed. They a lot of times they'll just have the regular interviews, and then once you're hired, they will go into those details and those accommodations at that point. And so that's when they would do it. Also think about how you had those discussions with your instructors. And that would be something very similar. So you would have that a conversation with your direct supervisor, and then together you would come up with a plan to discuss it with your employees, or that you're going to work with, or your team. Okay. Uh, just for insight, I don't mind sharing this. I have epilepsy, so I'm prone to seizures. So I deal with this type of situation when I go in for job interviews, things like that. And so I do have to check these little boxes and that. And then in situations, I do have to discuss it. I work with large, dangerous animals at times. So my team has to be aware of these situations because I can't put my team at risk, etc. So they have to be aware of warning signs that I could exhibit if something should start to go astray. So although these conversations can be difficult and nerve-wracking, understand that humans are human and eccentrically they care. Okay, so start off with your supervisor once you are hired and that human resources contact, and they will carry you through. Okay, so you'll be fine. All right.
Great. Great.
And
Well, that's all I have for you guys, unless you have a question or comment. I appreciate you having me on. I hope I've done something to help out.
it was horrible, Princess. Absolutely horrible. We are not going to have you back this month at
Oh,
all.
I love your honesty. Thank you.
You know, that is one thing that I emphasize to everybody. Be honest. Everywhere in your job, be honest. If you make a mistake, be honest. Because if somebody comes up and asks you, did you do this? They know the answer and they're waiting for you to give the right answer back. And so own up to it so we can correct any mistake because we all make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's like a hobby of mine. So you know, we all make mistakes, but we can correct them because we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we can do this. We really do appreciate you coming by. Your information is so valuable, along with everybody on all the career services team. And
Thank you.
people, listen to her when she says you can come in and utilize her services now, multiple times, not just for the assignments, which you
Right.
better do. Don't make her hunt you down. Okay. Uh, not just for the assignments, but even after you are graduated and you need
Yes.
additional help, come
Yes.
back. Okay. Utilize these people. They are here to help you. Who doesn't need help? All right. So thank you, Princess. And everybody stay on because I've got to do some screen sharing with you and we got to talk about our midterm. All
All
right.
right. Thank you so much for having me. You all have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Princess.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, everybody. That was incredible. Some great information there. Uh, a lot of this we had heard, but it comes very important to hear from multiple sources. Somebody who does this as part of their job, to help people get employed and get those resumes, etc. So I want to do a quick screen share here. Uh, so we can get y'all moving and a grooving here. Catch things up, folks. Anything missing from week 1, it closes Sunday. You ain't getting another chance, okay? That's it. Once it's closed Sunday, that's it. No last week makeups. Boom. All right. So everything here all the way through, I'm going to start dropping zeros in. If you don't have it, 0, 0, 0 until you get it done. You don't like watching your grade fall, get it done. Okay, then you'll start getting grades. I'm going through grading things today. Your signed resume, obviously you can't get this done until your assignment or until your appointment with career services. I understand that. I'll be putting in an extension for everybody on this uh, so that everybody can get that done. Don't worry about that one. Your midterm, okay? Be very careful going in here, taking the quiz. Do it from start to finish. Don't get out of it once you start it. Everybody, when you go in, everybody gets a different version. The questions are random. I strongly recommend you take a look at this big red help button. When you click it, guess what happens? You get help. Come in here, find this midterm study guide. I had somebody tell me they didn't know there was a midterm study guide. Number one, that tells me you haven't listened to what I've been saying. You haven't watched the pre-recorded thing. You're just going in, getting that question, answering it, not paying attention. That's bad for you, okay? Because you're not helping yourself out. The answers are in here. Come in, get them. The reason why I put it in this form is you're still going to have to read it. You're going to get that information in you one way or the other. All right? Everybody good with that? Everybody? Yes, yes? Making sure you're still there? All right. Okay. You need this. This is life stuff, okay? Can't emphasize it. These things you're learning travel through you with life all the way through your career. Okay. So now, here we go. Princess Phillips was our guest speaker today. All right, all right. And I want to know, name 3 things you learned from her. 3 things you learned specifically from Princess Phillips today. And be specific. Notice she kept saying, be specific. I tell you this, don't use generalizations. Okay? Be very, very, very specific. Okay? So that's your thing today. Get those midterms in. Those midterm grades are going to be low when you first take that midterm. I have to go in and manually check the auto grader. I also have to do that short answer grading and those essays if you happen to get an essay thingy in there. I don't know. It's more than just a one-word answer, so I call it an essay. So your grades will go up after I answer them. If you did the bonus question, that's going to be 5 points added to it. That bonus was from week 1. If you didn't do that, you missed out on that. That's 5 points added right on top. So that's like half a grade. So take a look around. Don't miss out on points. Get everything done. And I hope you enjoyed our guest speaker today. And we are good for this week. After today, you will be halfway through the course, and we start week 3 on Monday. Y'all have a good weekend. All right?